In 1970, the rains failed. I knew the moment of truth had arrived for Tsavo and its elephants. There were now 45,000 elephants in Tsavo. Would the drought set the elephant population into a gradual decline, or would it turn into a catastrophe for all the animals? 1970 came and went. And in 1971, good rain still did not materialize. It was frightening, not knowing when the drought would end and what the consequences would be. There were recriminations from those who were appalled at the sight of sick and dying elephants. It appalled me too, though the drought numbers would have done this vast general outcry. As the drought went on into 1973, only the strongest animals survived, promising healthier populations for the future. The fate of an entire family rested on decisions made by the matriarch, but strangely, they made no effort to leave the worst affected areas. Many of the springs were still flowing, as were the rivers, so water was never in short supply. What was lacking was food with protein in it. We now accept that elephants have many of the characteristics of man. Their lifespan is similar. They have a sense of family, lifelong loyalties, and a sense of death. I've no doubt the unique bond of kinship between these cows enabled them to draw strength from each other, just like we do in times of despair. No matter how awful death from malnutrition must be, the alternative is no less horrifying to witness and no less distressing for the elephants. In the Kruger National Park in South Africa, elephants are culled each year in order to try and maintain the vegetation at an even level. 15,000 have been killed over the last 20 years. A family is selected at random and then herded towards a road. The helicopter then keeps it there while ground crews get into position. These elephants already know what is going to happen. Two youngsters have been knocked down. This would never happen in natural circumstances. Elephants quickly learn to associate the helicopter with culling. They can pick up extremely low frequencies. Only are they detected flight and hear the screams of families being wiped out from as far away as 10 kilometers. On occasion, surviving herds have even been found standing on the site of a recent cull. It's not surprising every elephant in the area lives every day in fear of death. At the first whisper of the helicopter, even the lucky ones, for today at least, flee in panic. The helicopter swoops in, and 2 darts are fired into each elephant. Then it veers off to counteract any attempts to escape. The darts contain the drug Culling, which paralyzes without killing and causes the elephant to collapse in 2.6 to 8 minutes. Culling is not an anesthetic. It leaves the victim fully conscious. The terrified calves try to hide under any adults which are still standing. I have read in scientific records it can take from 12 to 32 minutes to dart this number of elephants. The time for the ground team to arrive can vary from 4.9 to 53 minutes. The leader of the ground crew shoots every elephant through the brain. Entire families are culled. More food becomes available for the survivors, so the breeding rate goes up. Culling then has to be undertaken every year to keep numbers at an even level. As a result, culling becomes accepted management policy. As in any commercial venture, including possibly a reopening world trade in ivory, a workforce must be kept employed and contracts met. Very soon, regardless of natural fluctuations in elephant populations, a certain number regularly have to be culled to ensure these industries make a profit. If corruption and greed should then come into play, the resulting situation would be almost impossible to control. We have all seen what happened with poaching and the illegal ivory trade. As a tourist visiting a national park, how would you feel about watching a herd of elephants today and wondering if tomorrow they'd be reduced to I don't think elephants belong in tins. I think they should be left out in the park where they die naturally. During its lifetime, this elephant played a key role in enriching its environment. Now in death, it becomes part of another important function. A huge web of animals, each playing a specific role, come to feast. The scavengers disperse the 6-ton carcass across the countryside. By continuing their own, they return even the contained body. Nothing is lost in this life and death. Sometimes when culled elephants were left in one spot, fatal diseases such as anthrax resulted and other species died. In the Sava drought, deaths were sporadic. Carcasses were not concentrated in one place, and no diseases broke out. Insects are just as important as the larger scavengers in returning the carcass to the soil. Even a maggot from the despicable fly plays its true part in nature here as it migrates from the carcass to bury itself in the ground. I have often seen elephants carrying bones from fallen friends. This mysterious behavior still remains unexplained. This bull stayed apart from the others. He was carrying a rib bone from the carcass. A zoologist once took the lower jaw of a cow elephant back to her camp. Some days later, the dead elephant's herd passed by, and her teenage son came and carefully felt each tooth in the jaw of his dead mother. When the others moved on, this bull also stayed behind. Perhaps he still carried memories of a special friend. If science ever unravels the mystery of this behavior, I think we will venerate the elephant even more. When only insects feed on the carcass, the bones remain in a pile and gradually break up with the action of rain and sun, or are buried by the wind. A year later, a footpad could still be seen. Certain moths fed on the keratin, as in fingernails, and this beetle probably played a part in its disposal too. So complex is this process of dispersal that even a moth has evolved which only breeds in dried out hyena dung.